right. So what are we talking about today? Oh my gosh, y'all. We're talking about how I handle projects that have gone wild. Um, and ironically, I think Hallie and I, mostly Hallie, had come up with this topic, and it came to life. Like, it came to life recently. For those of you, how many of you guys have been through my rolling in the dough um workshop? Will you tell me in the chat, like, have you been in the rolling in the dough? I know, Hal's, what's up with that? Okay, good. Yeah, Rhonda, yep, you've been there. I think I recognize a couple other people. So yes, Ivanka's been there. Okay. So one of the things that I'm very proud of is the sales process that we have put together really tends to weed out the crazies. Okay. Now, before I had that, we slow the whole sales process down, and we make sure that we have good communication. And like, we're always checking for like that energy, that little red flag of like, oh, this person's a little loco, all the things. But I'll tell you, every once in a while, somebody makes it through. And so that's what we're talking about today. So I will say that by putting that process in that you learned in the free workshop, Rolling in the Dough, which I think we're going to have another one in June. If you're not familiar with it, watch for that sign up in the next, towards the end of May. But for those of you who implement it weeds out 99% of the people who shouldn't be there. But every once in a while, somebody will sneak through the process. So let me ask you this also, like, I want a little chit chat going on in the chat. Is this the first time that you have been in one of I go live once a week. We call it Cooking Up Success. Let me know in the chat, is this your first time attending, or are you a regular? Are you here on a regular basis, just hit and miss, first time? Okay, good. Yay, Lori. Claudia, good. Okay. Ivanka. Oh, wow, good. Okay. Pretty regular, first time attending, need to be a regular. Oh, thanks, Veronica, you're sweet. First time, third time, hit and miss. Okay, good. Pretty regular. Yes, I do recognize some of y'all's names. Okay, so for those of you first times around, or if maybe you weren't paying attention last time, let me just introduce myself and give you a little street cred. So if you're taking advice from somebody, you kind of want to make sure they're legit. So my name is Michelle Lynn, and I am the owner of ML Interiors Group, which is an award-winning interior design firm in Dallas, Texas. I've been featured in Forbes, Southern Living, Modern Luxury, Martha Stewart. We just hit Apartment Therapy, and we had another one recently too. So basically, what I love doing is I'm a trusted advisor to small business owners, specifically in interior design. And I serve designers who want to scale to multiple six figures with profit and passion. Like, it's great if you've got high revenue, but if you're not making a profit or you're burning yourself out, I don't consider that success. Like, I've been on all sides of the spectrum. I want the profit. I want the passion. It makes life so much easier. Now, if you are on Instagram, follow me over on Designed for the Creative Mind and say hello. Like, DM me. I am the one in the DMs. It's not a chat bot. I have yet to outsource that to Hallie, but please don't hesitate to say hello. So thank you, House, for dropping that in there. Yay, we've got some first timers. I'm so glad you guys are here. Also, you know what you can do is you feel free to either drop it here in the chat while you're here in Zoom, or if you're watching it later on Facebook, or if you do head on over to Designed for the Creative Mind on the gram, let me know if there's topics that you're curious about. I can either introduce them here, or we can talk about it on my podcast. If you guys are not familiar, I have a podcast. It's also called Design for the Creative Mind. And we go into various topics there too. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, despite all of the filters that we have in our sales process, the contracts that we have, the conversations that we have, a client will still slip through the crack who turns the project into chaos. This last one that we just finished, we just wrapped up, was like 2 weeks ago, and it still gives me anxiety. And I'm really grateful that this doesn't happen very often. Earlier in my career, I did have a lot more difficult clients. So, some things to look for, okay, is the refusal to respect boundaries, ghosting. So like this particular client, we'd ask a question via email, because you don't need to pick up the phone for every conversation. You don't have to meet them for every conversation. And we'd get the read receipt, but she would not reply. It was like, come on, lady, and so I actually updated our contract specifically because of her. And then one other who was slow to reply, but they weren't crazy. They were just slow. But they would micromanage. I found out last week that this client was micromanaging the, our, gosh, I'm drawing a blank. The guy who does the wood installation. Trim carpenter. She was micromanaging the trim carpenter. Okay. And so it was just something. But these are things to look for. Maybe constant changes are things that you can keep your eyes open for, or if they just can't make a decision. So some of the situation may be your fault. Okay. Just shooting straight, y'all. This might be your fault if you don't have processes and procedures and different, boundaries that you educate the client on the front end. So some clients are not crazy. Some clients just don't trust you to get the job done, so they try to take over. It's your responsibility to make sure that you have processes and procedures and that you educate your client on how you work. And if they start to go off track, then it is your responsibility to fix it once it starts happening. Does that make sense? That's a lot of what has transformed my business and hundreds of other interior designers' businesses, and avoided this on a regular basis, the crazy client on a regular basis, is having specific and repeatable and elegant processes in place that are easy to educate the client on what is okay and what isn't. So you need to take a look and say, okay, am I running my business in the form of a business that I can explain to another person and make sure that they're following? It's like remember there used to be a very popular sign that would say no shoes, no shirt, no service. Well, this is how you operate your business. Those are your rules. So you need to have rules in order for the client to follow them. But even if you have the rules, I'm very adamant that I have rules. I teach rules. But even then, if somebody sneaks through, here's what I did, and here's what I suggest you do. You have to have an in-person reset meeting. Okay. If you can't have a face-to-face, then you need to have a phone call, because this back and forth emails, back and forth text, like whatever, just stop that. Because there's a lot of times where there's just misunderstandings. So maybe that's all it is a misunderstanding, and you can stop the crazy train early. But you need to have a meeting with all key parties. Okay, the client, the GC if necessary. If something's going wrong with an item, maybe it's the vendor as well. And what the objective is to calmly just like reset the expectations, hit the restart button. Okay. If you need to review the timeline, communication standards, then that's what you're doing at this point. You're in charge. You're leading this meeting. And y'all, it's uncomfortable. It's as comfortable as it is. Like, I do not like doing these, but they have to be done. Okay. You're going to remind everybody who who has what roles. Part of what happened with our, this most recent experience is that the general contractor would involve the client on some of the, let's say, things that he couldn't find or forgot, like the paint sheen. The paint sheen was this thing that just kept being repeated. The client was like, well, you guys should have included the paint sheen and you guys have forgotten this and you've forgotten that and la, 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 la. She would have known if the paint sheet hadn't been specified, if the general contractor hadn't asked her, hey, do you know what the paint sheet's supposed to be? Like, so this is where you also need to talk to everybody who's involved. Okay, and then you have to remind them kindly but firmly to get back in their own lane, to what they all agreed to in the beginning and what the scope entails. Does this sound familiar? How does this resonate with you? Like, have you had this happen to you? Tell me in the chat. Have you had this happen to you? Is this, a step that you would have taken? Yeah, there, MK Moss 782, 100%. Okay, good. Right now, oh, Lori, I'm so sorry. Yes, Ivanka recently, all too familiar. Okay, so for those of you who have experienced this, either recently or multiple times or whatever, ask yourself if your processes are in place. Okay. If the answer is like, no, I really don't have processes to follow, or I don't have standard operating procedures or something like that, I encourage you to consider our interior design business bakery or the key ingredients. You need processes. The pain that you are feeling is avoidable. Okay. I did meet with the client, but they attacked me. Yes, good. Yes. So Rhonda, it does. It happens. It happens. We deal with the human factor, so we can't fully avoid it. My client attacked me as well. And basically, here's what I did. I was like, you cannot speak to me that way. Okay, stop. And I take this calm, you have to take this calm and authoritative voice and just tell her, I understand you're frustrated, but this is going to be a respectful conversation. And you know what? I had that same conversation with my 6-year-old this past weekend, right? So it's the same thing. So what you can do is you can either modify or rescope your services. Okay. So if the client wants to design things themselves or they can't stay in the box, well, then maybe you shift your role. Okay. And we didn't in this particular instance, but it was an option. It was like, okay, consulting only. Like, I'll take the money you've paid me. We'll restructure this. If there's anything that was outside of the contract, put them on a retainer. Okay. So there's different solutions depending on your situation. You can give them, and we're going to get to the end that, you know what, you may have to fire the client. You may have to, but in this respect, you want to give them a path forward that still protects your time and energy. Our goal is to see the project through to completion. That's what our job is. And depending on where you are in the project, maybe you can suck it up for the next couple of weeks and live with it. But if depending on where you are, if there's a place to pivot, you consider pivoting, give them that option. Only if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, you do not have to bend over backwards to meet their needs. Okay. And something else, because this went through my head. I was trying to give her what she wanted. Okay. I found myself falling into that place where the client's always right. Like, let me see what I can fix. Let me see what I can do. Let me see what the options are. And there was two things. I was like, you know what, Michelle, the client's not already right. She's freaking crazy. Okay. The client's not always right. And then I was also worried about getting a bad review on the Google. Okay. But quite frankly, those two things, I had to put them out of my head. I literally spoke to myself, Michelle, if you were coaching another designer, what would you tell her? And I had to pull myself out of myself, the designer side, and put my coaching hat on and say, well, screw that. You know what? She's not right. She's bending the truth. She's gaslighting us. I truly believe she may have multiple personalities because different ones would show up on a regular basis. Okay. And if I get a bad Google review, I can address that. I'll deal with that later, but it's not worth my team nor myself just being a punching bag. Okay. So these are things that we have to think about. Should have attacked her and fired me saying I failed him miserably. Oh, Ivanka, uh, that we might have had the same client, because this client was just like, it was always on us. We messed this up. We messed that up. We messed this up. We messed that up. And quite frankly, it was just delusional. But at this point, so Ivanka, good for you for saying that she was being disrespectful to your business boundaries. But if you guys don't have boundaries, and it sounds to me like you did, but implement stronger ones. Hold on, let me call you in a minute. Hold on, guys. It's my, oh, well, she'll get it later. So here's some examples on boundaries. Only respond during business hours. Okay, so if it's an email and, oh, it's okay, I can respond. Don't, like, set your business hours. Don't even read your emails. Okay, I joke that I told my 6-year-old this, and there was a teacher. Yeah, MG is a retired teacher, and you have to remind everyone how to behave. So it's like I have to remind my daughter one thing, but I also have to remind my husband. It's like, babe, put down the phone. You don't have to answer your emails. It's dinner time. If you're responding during dinner, you are programming your client to expect you to respond anytime. Okay, so have those boundaries. Don't even read them, because if something's going haywire, it's going to ruin your night. Okay, so only respond during business hours. Require all change orders to be in writing. Okay, so do you guys create change orders and then have them sign off on it? Do you have a process? How many change orders do they get? Okay, so you should have a limit of how many revisions they get. And what's the consequence if they go over that? If they're asking you for things that are outside of the scope of work, you ask them, you want me to write up another scope of work for you? Because this powder bathroom ideas, we're not in it. If you don't have a separate, phone number for your business, consider getting one. Because then if something comes up, it goes directly to the other phone number. You don't have to have a second phone. I tried that for a while. It's a whip, but you can get like Google Voice, or you can get Vonage. It's a voice over internet provider of VoIP. So there's things that you can do. As things progressed with this particular client, and as I realized that our conversations, like our in-person conversation that we had, completely changed when it served her purpose. So the trust at that point for me had been broken. I probably should have gotten everything in writing, like summarize every meeting in a follow-up email. So that first one, I should have summarized and said, okay, here's our next steps. Here's what we're doing and so forth. Okay. But hey, you know what? I wanted to believe that we were on the same page, that we had gotten over the misunderstandings or whatever. But after that, we went directly to more conversations and then follow-up emails. So I just tagged everything so that there's a doc there. I mean, you have to almost put yourself on defense, or think about it. Okay, well, if she were to try to sue me, do I have everything documented? Because if it went to mediation or whatever the case would be, I could print these emails out saying, okay, look, this is what we talked about. And then you responded, and this is what you talked about. So you have that paper trail. Okay. Again, if you modify the scope, they get a new scope of work and a new contract. All of this is simple documentation. Okay. This also, I'll tell you all, this also helped me because this woman was a gaslighter. Do you guys know what that means? It's like, there's a technical term for it, but basically it's what they're doing is they're saying things to make you believe that you're the one at fault. Okay. So Natalie's saying you were terrified of getting a bad review and suffered so much abuse. Then your client wrote a bad review 2 years later after you set boundaries and walked away. It was devastating in the same way, actually liberating. The review so unhinged. Yes. It's interesting that you say that, Natalie. I had a client, something similar, but it was a decade ago, but nonetheless, it's also a great opportunity. And we're going to talk about that when to know that you fire them. When you get a bad Google review or Facebook review or whatever, and they do go off unhinged, because, like they're saying here, Hallie and Claudia are saying that the same people will read that and know that that person's loco. You can always reply and say, what I've done and what I've coached, and I think in the past I've done is like, thank you so much. I was we have handled this, one-on-one. It does not need to be brought up. The situation was remedied. Like, just come up with something that acknowledges that you see their review, that you've handled it professionally, and then you let them go on their merry way. So, I'd like to say that one of my strengths is being able to tell somebody to go to hell and make them look forward to the trip. So that's kind of what you want to do in your response, but it has to be so impeccably professional so that whomever's reading your response doesn't see that you're being a smart ass. So if that's what happens with this woman, that's what I'm planning on doing. So this is like a really relevant topic to us right now. So when do you know it's time to set them free? Okay. Like, if they're disrespectful or abusive. Okay. So we talked about that. When she was disrespectful to me, that was a red flag. I was like, okay, if this woman's going to talk to me like that, like Juliana, my teammate, had said that she had been all up in her grill at one point. And I was like, well, then I'm taking this phone call, because I'm not going to let that happen to my team. But then when she was like that to me, I was like, okay, note to self, disrespectful, stick to decisions. Okay. She would not sign her extended contract, zero cost. Okay. But because of all of the delays that we incurred, we needed to extend our contract. She wouldn't sign it. Okay, so they're disrespectful. She refuses to stick to decisions that she's made or pay invoices or sign the extension. Okay, but she was getting to the point where she was going to create major legal risks for me, not to mention the emotional risk. Like, I needed a lot of wine after this client. But does that make sense? The idea, however, when you're dealing with these clients, is that you have to stay professional, you have to stay on point, and you have to be brief. You cannot, like, I've rewritten multiple emails to her. Like, when I did finally fire her, multiple revisions there. Time is 3 glasses a night, client Hallie, 3 bottles maybe. Yeah, just kidding, really. So so let me tell you a story. I was on a bakery call. Oh, Hallie, look at that. You wrote this in my notes for me. Thank you. Okay. I was on a bakery call, and here's what Rebecca says. Working with Michelle and other bakers was a turning point for me during a very difficult client project. Even though I followed all the right steps, the client ultimately decided she didn't want to use a full service designer and wanted to take the project in her own direction. I was feeling stuck, afraid to stand up for myself, and questioning everything. On her office hours calls, Michelle helped me see that the situation wasn't entirely my fault, and that sometimes, even when we do everything right, a project still may not go as planned. She gave me thoughtful coaching on how to phrase things professionally, finish what I could, and gracefully let the client go. Most importantly, she never made me feel badly about it. Instead, I left feeling empowered, clear, and so much more confident for the next time. I can't thank her enough for the support and guidance when I needed it most. Thanks, Hallie, for dropping that in there. I wasn't sure how I was gonna get that story involved. But y'all, I just want you guys to know that you are a professional service provider. Okay, you are not a hostage to these clients. You can let them go. Okay, if this is something that keeps coming up for you, you really need to review your sales process, your implementation process, things along that line. But you don't have to put up with this. The old adage, like when I was growing up, that the client was always right, I'm just calling that's bullshit. And I am not choosing to participate in being a punching bag. So saving your sanity and protecting your business is more important than finishing every project. Does it suck that we're not going to get to see this beautiful design? Does it suck that we're not going to be able to get photographs for our portfolio? Absolutely. And it sucks from that heart point because this is something that you've poured your creativity into. Okay. So a lot of wild clients can be salvaged early if you catch it, or you walk away before it gets terrible. Okay. So just know that this is something that you don't have to put up with, but it's also something that you can prevent. So what, what do you think you could do differently going forward, um, to kind of catch these things earlier? I'd like, is this stimulating thought? Like, okay, I can tighten up my sales process. Okay, I can have a standard procedure. Okay, I can have a tighter contract. Like, what types of things can you put in place before the next wild project sneaks in? I'd love to just hear your thoughts. Okay, I know it's because you guys are typing. Um, so while I'm waiting for all of y'all there, I'm encouraging you. I'm just standing here like, don't leave me hanging. But if you think that some of this free content is good, imagine what you get when you get to work with me in one of my mentorships and coaching programs. Okay. I've got a number of ways for you guys to work with me based on where you are in business and your ability to invest. If you are interested in learning more, please don't hesitate. You can email Hallie at hello@Design for the Creative Mind. You can DM me at Design for the Creative Mind on Instagram or here in the Facebook page. Like, we are here to serve. We are here to serve. And if you have any topics or anything like that that you're interested in, please don't hesitate to let me know. Let Hallie know, DM me. If you have questions, I had some questions before from a group actually over in London, a group of designers who got together and had some questions. So I'll just do a podcast for you. So we went completely down this bunny trail, and I did this whole podcast based on their question. It was a relevant question that I know other people have. So don't hesitate if there's something that you want to have covered. If you're not at a place where you can hire me or join one of the programs, I'm not just going to ignore you. Like, let's see what we can do. So Claudia says you change your contract to giving a time limit to how long they can reasonably wait to respond. Good, via email. Christian says try to control your client as much as possible. And yes, I've done the same with time limits. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah, good, 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 good. Ivanka says you create a welcome packet with boundaries. Oh, good. And consequences of breaking them, and you have the client sign it. I don't know if you need to have the client sign it, Ivanka. I don't know if that's a question mark or if it was a typo, but I think handing it to them and then having it compounded in your contract is a great idea. Rhonda says it's a hard decision, but decided to stay with the client. Things have smoothed out, but we're still outside of your process. Your first client with your new process and systems. Oh yeah. Oh girl. Yes, give yourself some grace. The first time you start implementing new processes, it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit. So that's awesome. Um, MG, definitely going back to tighten up your processes and contract, as well as making sure that the client's educated on both. Yes, repeated throughout the process when you feel it might be going off the rails. Absolutely. Well, if I don't leave you guys with anything other than the fact that, you know, wild clients happen. Even like I consider myself fairly well experienced. I mean, I'm teaching other designers based on my decades of experience, but it's going to happen. Don't take it personal. Okay. So it's hard to separate yourself from your emotional design, but don't take it personal. Get in front of it early. Okay. And it's your business. You run it however the damn hell way you want to. Okay. It's your business. So if the client cannot fit into the lane that you need them to be in, then they need to find another lane. So thank you guys for being here. Hallie, you know what I'm going to ask you, right? What's
Yeah,
next?
and I'm not prepared. Hold on. What's up next week?
What's up?
Next week we are it's our Don't Be Afraid series. And the first one is Don't Be Afraid to Say No.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. So y'all, thank you guys for being here. I want to honor your time. Did you get my thank you email after rolling in the dough? Rhonda, did I? I might have. I will look. Thank you very much for sending that. I appreciate it. Girl, my inbox is it's a hungry little beast. So thank you. I appreciate it. Hey Tiff, there you are. Hello, it's good to see you. I think Tiffany's one of our bakers. So Rhonda, I will go look and see if I have that. So also just to give you guys a little tickle of something, we have something really sweet coming up on Mother's Day. So keep a lookout for that soon. And I gotta go. I'm late for another call, but I appreciate you guys being here. I just love being here with you guys. So thank you for showing up, and we will see you guys next week.